implementing structured data. When everyone was categorizing all the data and it reached this new era where AI, Web3, and all that were launched, various projects emerged. On top of all my troubles, I managed to get onto the schema.org website, but on the other hand, I got blocked. On one hand, there were DNS sanctions and various other issues, but eventually I managed to get in, and now we're looking at the schema.org website together. As we mentioned before, the schema.org website has had investments from various companies, even big ones like Microsoft, Yahoo, Google, and others. We can see here that Microsoft, Pinterest, Yandex, and others have also joined in, contributed, and helped complete its vocabularies. Now we want to go and see how it's implemented. For different properties, they have provided various definitions and produced a lot of vocabularies, which, as someone had written somewhere, I can't see right now. Let's go to its section to check. Apparently it was said that even its structure and appearance have changed, and I can't see the number right now. Let's see how many there are. Maybe later you'll see it for yourself when we go to the schema section. I think it's here, 811 types, 1084 properties, 84 data types, and 89 enumerations. And they actually managed to register these in the schema.org project. Now we want to go and see what implementing structured data using the standards provided by schema.org actually looks like. I want to open one of these, let's say, for example, event. If we want to have structured data for an event, a webinar, a seminar, or something like that, there's something defined, a type called event. It has a series of informational fields. Don't bother looking at them here, you'll just get confused. Let's move on to where the examples are. In your HTML markup, when you don't have structured data markup, you see something like this. This is hard for bots to read. It's difficult for crawlers to figure out which part belongs to what. It's a bit problematic for them, so, well, let's just move on from that particular point. So they have thoughtfully suggested 3 distinct methods for us to consider. One of them is microdata, where you can see that your HTML has some attributes added to it called item prop, item type, and you see each one has different values. Item scope, you see implementing these gets embedded into the HTML itself, and updating and maintaining them and things like that can be a bit difficult. It also increases the page size. This is example 2, where you can see that using microdata increases the size a bit. There's another method. Of course, microdata has its own vocabularies and libraries, which you can see introduced here. For example, for music group, this is its item type, and they've put video object here. There's another one called RFA, which is pretty much the same. It might be a bit more simplified though. Again, this one has its own vocabularies. Still, within the HTML, there's a bit of complexity and involvement. Updating it is a bit difficult. This one is like the previous one. And there's another method called JSON-LD, which basically gets placed inside a script tag as a JSON script, and it's much simpler. You can put it in the head or even in the body. It sits separately from your HTML code. It absolutely must be inside a script tag, and it's read by the page. It's read by the bot. One thing you need to pay attention to is to try to keep the different types of your data and your structured data completely separate. For example, you have a page that contains both breadcrumb and event. Write these separately. Put each script separately. Don't try to merge them together. Merging them might be readable by Google, but for you it becomes a bit complicated and troublesome. And well, it has a tab called Structure. You can see here how these structures actually exist. Now, I don't know, maybe because of my internet the structures aren't loading properly right now. Now you can see what its structure looks like. Oh, here it is. These are its structures shown like this. I think I mentioned before, if you want to test it, you can use validator.schema.org, where you can submit any page or HTML code that contains structured data to check if it's correct or not. Validation also takes place in your Search Console, provided that they are valid. In the enhancements section, if there are any errors, the errors will be shown to you. Alright, now let's talk about which structured data types to use. Which ones are good? Which ones are interesting? Here's the address on Google, but you can also search for it on Google. If you search for Google Search Gallery, the first link that comes up belongs to Google developers. It's an address like that, Structured Data Search Gallery. Google has created a page for this. It has listed all the structured data types that, in a way, have an appearance and are displayed in the search results, SERP. They are very practical and at the very least help your CTR, and they can actually help your impressions and traffic as well. Well, the first one you see is article. I'll open it up. In this episode, I'll try to fully explain the ones that are really practical so that with just this one episode, you can see them all and your questions will be resolved. All right, I've opened up article. You see, for article, we have three types. Provided that you use structured data or article, you can also specify three types for it. One is a regular article, just a normal article that you've written. Another is news article, which is a news piece, a news article. And the third one is blog posting, like a typical WordPress post, just a regular blog post, which you can see examples of here. So this is a news article. The context then is schema.org. As for the article itself, whether it's a blog post, a news article, or a regular article, you can see its microdata here. Here we also have its JSON LD. It shows you what it would look like in the rich results. Something like this appears. And if you want to become a top story or top news, you can usually use these types of structured data, especially the news article one, to get featured as a top story. This even works for blog posts and articles. Of course, alongside this, you need to have high traffic and all that for your content to appear in Google's top stories. Here you can see they've fully explained how to add it and provided a guide for you. Be sure to pay attention to the notes they've given. There's nothing special about the conditions under which it appears. They've explained that too and given you examples of its information fields. If you run into trouble, there's troubleshooting. It will show you what to do. They've explained everything, including how to troubleshoot and fix issues, so you'll have it all covered. That's it for the article. Remember, along with the article's structured data, your content should also be placed within the article tag. Make sure to use proper headings. All of these elements work together effectively. It's not enough to just add the structured data by itself. Book action actually refers to how the book's details and such are displayed on mobile. Another one of these really practical ones is breadcrumb, so I'll open up my breadcrumb again. But I quickly skipped over book action because I know we're not really book readers. We're not that interested in books. Just saying for a laugh, there are a lot of people like that. Breadcrumb list is basically the same breadcrumb we have in translations. For example, it's like this, a connection in the ABC folder, and it just keeps going like that. This breadcrumb that you now visually see on a lot of websites, where, for example, the electronics category has subcategories like, I don't know, electronic gadgets, and then say an electronic gadget whose product page you're on. This breadcrumb appears at the top and is displayed. You also need to specify these breadcrumbs for the search engine. Just this code is enough. For example, it was its JSON LD, and you can see that this JSON LD has its title. The context is actually schema, and its type is also specified. It has specified the items one by one from top to bottom. It says book categories, then science fiction, and then the list of items. For example, award winners has come up and you can see it. Now, why wouldn't different examples work? And now it says if you take some markup on your page, maybe using a technique that is outside our structured guidelines, you may receive a manual action. An interesting thing you see here is that you should definitely follow these guidelines. It has provided how to use it, how not to use it, and you can see it saying that if you don't follow them, you might get a manual action. Well, a lot of people might be afraid of manual actions. Let me mention something about manual actions. Maybe we should even do a separate episode just about that. I keep saying these things, but I forget that not everything at Google is automated. There are also some people on the other side who, if they see that someone has filed a complaint or a guideline hasn't been followed, will actually issue a warning manually by hand. You can see these warnings in your search console, and they'll tell you, this is like this, that's like that, go fix it, or we'll remove it from the results. That's always how they threaten you. Sometimes it has even happened that they actually call you. So that's breadcrumb. Whether you should use breadcrumb or not, definitely use it. It's very practical and necessary. You've seen the carousel on mobile, right? Now you just tap through it. You see it for recipes, course lists, restaurants, and it's used a lot for movies, videos, movies, and things like that. You can see the appearance of course, info, course lists, and data set. What? I'm trying to mention the ones that are really popular in Iran. Estimated salary, because it's a wage, it's actually predictable as it's written here. We saw the event, you can define an event. Its boxes can be defined like this. For example, real estate agents can set up a property viewing event. Now, it's not very common in Iran, but in the US and Europe, such a thing exists. The fact checks that are available. FAQ, which all of you have probably used, of course. Image metadata, be sure to include a license in the metadata for your images. Let's take a look at these together as well. Well, these days we all know that internet speed is extremely poor. So regarding the image feature, try to make sure you use the production data, license data, and whether your images are reusable or usable. Who produced it? And now we can see an example of it here. You can see its exact license. You can find the license addresses online. Now there's the Creative Commons, there's Apache, there's MIT. These are licenses that we Iranians used to have, but we don't anymore. Get to know these licenses and introduce their addresses. Here it says example and accurate license page, which actually means the address of the page where license is accurately provided. Its credit, who its creator is. We say put these for your photos, especially photos that are your own, ones you've produced yourself. Definitely include this. It actually gives you credibility. It's kind of like EEAT, it gives you credibility. Someone who is a content creator has high credibility. I'm not saying it's higher than a publisher, but it does have significant credibility. Learning videos, educational videos, which I think we should definitely include ourselves as well. For example, for movies, organizations, definitely add your organization for some of your pages. A product that, as we've seen, appears with stars next to it in the results. On the profile page, you see these Q&A sections. Q&A is different from FAQ. Questions and answers and frequently asked questions are different. Recipe, we use this in Ramak. It really helped our traffic. For example, in Ramak, we had 50 to 60,000 monthly traffic. For example, it reached, well, I won't say the exact number, but it grew a lot. Review snippets that you see for movies and articles, cycling search boxes. You see here, a search box appears in Google that lets you search within your own site. It's really interesting. As for speakables, in Iran, for example, we don't have Alexa and things like that. We don't have Google Assistant. For example, we can't use it. Vacation rentals, you see these eco lodges can easily use it. Vehicle listings like car rentals. And now even here, for example, this is interesting. Video segmentations, your videos. For example, maybe this has happened to you. You search for something. It brings up a specific part of a YouTube video, for example, at 2 minutes and 34 seconds and shows it to you. Exactly that part of the video is talking about what you searched for. So it brings up the video and shows it to you. All right, let me mention a point to you. If you're working in this field, you get your data and examples from here from various websites. You might have access to different general tools like technical SEO sites and various general script tools. Should you just hand these over to the developer to implement as they are? No. You give this as a sample to the developer, and for example, you tell them, let's bring up that event we looked at together again. And you explain that this is just a sample. The ones where they give you these as variables, for example, you ask them to make these into variables. For example, we usually define something like dollar something, dollar number, or dollar postal code. What does that mean? It means take the information you have from your own database and replace it here. Be sure to teach them and make sure they understand that this information needs to be replaced so that Google can recognize and read the information on your page. After you've done all these steps, use the same validator to run your tests and see if they're correct or not. How long does it take for Google to read these? After you've successfully completed this, my strong recommendation is to then proceed and update your sitemap. More specifically, you should actually update the last modification attribute within your sitemap file right now. And your sitemap in the past could be pinged. Now it can't be pinged anymore. It gets crawled frequently. Now Google reads it on its own. Or you can delete it once and add it again in Search Console. If you're really in a hurry, Google will come and read these again, or you can reindex them, or use the API to reindex or manually reindex so that Google reads them, understands your data, and you appear in the results faster and see what you want.